Welcome! Season 10 is all about chaotic powers, and I'm already theory crafting some nasty combinations for you to try out on the PDR. How do chaotic powers work now? You have one unique one, and then you can add 1, 2, 3 from magic to legendary. So 3 legendary, 3 magic, whatever mixture you feel like. One of the legendary ones is Defile the Dead. This one is Necromancer exclusive. You can consume each corpse twice. Consuming a corpse creates a chaotic burst dealing 3000 shadow damage. This is 2 to 400% shadow damage. If you wield a 200 weapon, it should come out higher. And that's already going to be our first build. So you have the Defile the Dead, and then you're going to add this unique power called Chaos Unleashed. It says killing an enemy generates 2 stacks of chaos, and dealing direct damage to a boss generates 5 stacks of chaos. At 100 stacks, unleash a salvo of 9 chaotic bursts, dealing 500% of your highest damage type. In this case, it would be shadow damage. And it also says your chaotic bursts gain 20% critical strike chance and deal 100% increased damage. Which means our Defile the Dead, which is already at 3000 base damage and probably higher with the 200 weapon and the 400%. It's another 100%, it can critical strike, and we just consume corpses twice. On top, you get Accelerating Chaos. Damaging an enemy has up to a 10% chance to trigger a chaotic burst on the enemy, dealing 400% damage. Your chaotic bursts that hit an enemy reduce a random active cooldown by 0.5 seconds. This would feed amazing into a Necromancer build that's going to make tons of corpses with Hood Flash. Then throw in tons of Blights for a bonus damage multiplier, together with the Blighted Corpse Explosion. All that damage over time could lucky hit to create more corpses, but also it could lucky hit with Fists of Fate to hit the lucky hit chance of the Accelerating Chaos for that bonus cooldown reduction, which would then give you another 200% bonus damage with Reaper's Pursuit and the Even Piercer Amulet, and you could reduce the cooldown of either your Army of the Dead for more corpses, or from Soul Rift to do more Shadow Blips that we can then use the Shadow Blight on top, which would also gain from the Shadow damage and the critical strike that we're going to do, which would have the Shadow Blight do crazy stacking up crits, while the Defile the Dead goes off all the time too, doing massive crits as well. And to make it even better, you're adding chaotic bursts randomly erupt around you, dealing 400% damage of your highest damage type, Shadow again. Your chaotic bursts also deal 100% of their initial damage over 4 seconds. I wonder if your chaotic burst itself also have a lucky hit chance that could then trigger even more chaotic bursts, as then all the chaotic bursts we're doing also suddenly do damage over time, and that damage over time would then be shadow damage, which subsequently triggers the Shadow Blight key passive even more for even more explosions and even more damage stacks. And that's not even the end of it, because they changed the Wither node. It now says your shadow damage has a 20% chance to deal 300% increased damage. It formerly used to say your corrupting effect, so damage over time, could do more damage. Now any shadow damage, 20%, 300% more damage. Which would be in this case, the Shadow Blight itself, for 300% more damage. Your Defile the Dead, which does the chaotic burst, is also shadow damage, that 300% bonus. And all the other chaotic bursts that we're having, because it said highest damage type, shadow damage. That sounds kind of nasty, doesn't it? No worries, we'll have completely flashed out planners in the description with all the items, so you can test that out on the PDR. They currently don't have a Season 10 tab, or we'll make it work. Off to another interesting combination. Instead of Chaos Unleashed, we're taking the Beast Cornered. It says for every 10% of your life you're missing, you gain 20% increased damage and 5% damage reduction. Spending resource drains a percentage of your life equal to 30% of the resource spent, refunding those resources. This cannot reduce you to below 10% life. Interesting. So we're going to use 90% life, but it's not going to reduce our max health, and that's incredibly important. We're going to get 9 times 5% damage reduction and 9 times 20% damage, 180% damage bonus, just like that. This power instantly yields Rogue, Sork, and Spiritborn to me. Rogue can get Infinite Barrier with Second Wind and Second Wind Tempers, which says every 100 energy you spend grants 15% of your maximum life as barrier. With a Death Trap build, the Rain of Arrows, or the Penetrating Shot one, you instantly empty all your energy and get 100% max life barrier. Which means the Beast Corner might have you at 10% health, but you're always fully buried up, and you have tons of damage reduction on top. The same would go for Spiritborn. We play the Gorilla, we do our Thorns damage outwards, and we get a Barrier for 5% of our maximum health up to 30% with bonus Barrier generation that will count as more. So we're going to be hitting and consistently having Barrier up while having that 180% bonus damage. Quite nasty. Sorcerers might be a bit trickier because you actually have to use cooldowns to get barriers. But you could also increase your barrier duration on top. The problem would be that you're one single cooldown unlucky hit away from getting destroyed. But hey, for that 180% bonus damage, it kinda seems worth it. Let's keep looking at the Spiritborn. We could add Alacrity, a magic power. Your basic skills gain 30% increased attack speed, their dash range is increased by 50%, and their third attack now happens every second attack. This would work perfectly for Rock Splitter on the Thorns damage build. And if you wanted to, you could add the Crushing Hands, because Combined Strike says your base core skills hit additional times in a larger area for 40% increased damage, Crushing Hands, but also have a 10-second cooldown. Your basic skill's third attack resets the cooldown on your core skills. Interesting, as I do 1-2 basic attacks, then Combined Strike, 1-2 basic attacks, Combined Strike, and I could even mix Sepasontek in, which invalidates the first Spiritborn power, but it says your basic skills deal 120% increased damage and always use their third attack. Ha ha ha. Alternative for the rogue, you can take the Chaotic Grenades Legendary. Your stun grenades also trigger a Chaotic Burst, dealing 100% physical damage. Chaotic Bursts generate 5 energy if they hit an enemy. Now those stun grenades on the rogue, you can get out left, right, and center with 4 different aspects and a unique, giving them 45% bonus damage, 45% bonus damage, 45% bonus damage, 45% bonus damage, and casting a core skill has a 45% chance to throw stun grenades that deal X physical damage to stun enemies. Your stun grenades gain lucky hit chance as well. And all of these stun grenades would now trigger Chaotic Bursts that deal physical damage, that can critical strike, that generate energy on the side, that get the 180% bonus damage from the Beast Cornered while I consistently have Barrier. And I could take, again, the Accelerating Chaos with all the Chaotic Bursts that we're doing to then have the Chaotic Burst reduce random cooldowns to spam even more skills. An alternative route with Rogue you could take is Alternating Alterations. Casting a core skill empowers your next non-channel cast of a different core skills, refunding its resource cost and dealing increased damage. Why is that Alternating Alterations interesting? Also together with a Beast Cornered. Because Rogue is getting a new bow called the Orphan Maker, unique two-handed crossbow. This one says basic and core skills that use this weapon now reload. Reload skills gain 300% increased damage, and every second reload skill gains twice this bonus. Skills with reload have a slight delay in which they cannot cast again. The damage and reload speed benefits from 50% of the attack speed bonus. And this would boost marksman skills, so we could do something with barrage, penetrating shot, and or rapid fire, and mix between these two to then have the alternating alterations just go crazy for you. And obviously that 180% bonus damage from a Beast Cornered. I promised you 3, and for that we're going over to Druid. Druid already had in Season 9 an insane build. And that would be the Fleshrender Druid, doing trillions of damage. For Fleshrender, you need the item called Fleshrender, and you're going to be spamming your defensive skills to have these explosions go out. It namely reads, casting a defensive skill or auto-cast skills deals X damage to nearby poison enemies, increased by 50% for any willpower you have. This leads to trillions and more. A big thing here is now, it says auto-casting skills. It didn't work with auto-casting before. Now Druid has an interesting power called Wild Transformation Legendary. Shapeshifting into a new form uses a free skill and grants an additional bonus for 5 seconds. Now if I shapeshift from bear to wolf to human to wolf to bear, werewolf uses Blood Howl, where bear uses Debilitating Roar, human uses Cyclone Armor. That will give me attack speed, crit damage, and also damage reduction, on top of what these skills anyways do. Now, as you can see here in the skill bar, we are using Debilitating Roar, we are using the Cyclone Armor, and the Earthen Bulwark. By the way, the Druid is being played by Mr. Screamheart. Thank you, sir. The Druid could technically also play a Beast Cornered for that 180% bonus damage. Or we could add a Chaos Unleashed, as we do tons of instances of direct damage. But I would probably prefer a Beast Cornered, as we consistently cast our Barrier. And since Fleshrender is saying autocast, we could probably add the Queer rune to get our Druid's Earthen Bulwark, and that Earthen Bulwark autocasting should profit the Fleshrender as well. And to the Beast Cornered power, you can add a cool legendary one, and it's called Mart Guard. You can no longer be healed above 50% of your life, shocketh. You gain 10% maximum resistance to all elements, 40% armor, and 100% increased barrier and fortify generation. And Mart Guard is just perfect. We're anyways not planning to be healthy. We're anyways going down to 10% health. Who cares if we can't heal above 50%? But we get 100% increased barrier generation. That's huge. That's going to make every single Earthen Bulwark you use, instead of 45% of your maximum life as barrier, well, that's 100% more. And those are only the first things that pop in my mind. Necromancer gets Alter the Balance, unique power. Your base core skills are now empowered as ultimate skills, cost no essence, but have a 30 to 20% second cooldown. We can reduce this. And it also says your base ultimate skills are now altered to also be core skills and have no cooldown but cost 50 essence. But if your ultimate skills are also core skills, they get all the core skill bonuses too. So if you get bonus ranks to core skills or your core skills do more damage, that all works for the ultimates. Another potential build. Well, Barbarian says with Raging Chaos, while you're not healthy, you are berserking and your core skills deal fire damage and an additional chaotic burst for 200% fire damage. Why is that so interesting? That's again because of Chaos Unleashed, so my core skills will now always do chaotic burst and always do bonus fire damage. Put on that Ugly Bastard's helmet where we will do another 60% bonus fire damage to all our stuff. Reduce our maximum health to maybe 50%, which makes us always not healthy. Because you're healthy if you're above 80%. If we're below 80%, we are not healthy. And we're permanently berserking, so we don't actually need to look out for anything that makes us berserking. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you feeling about these powers after I gave you some food for thought? Do you have some combinations in mind too? Tell us in the comments below. No worries, the PTR will be streamed here, and we will be giving you all these planners in the description with first thoughts, and then we'll flash it all out. I do believe Season 10 could bring quite some joy. But what do you think? Tell me, and have a good day.